What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video here today. We're back once again for Nations Cup and Manufacturer Series Round 2. If you haven't seen the first round, I recommend you go check that out. Pretty good start to the pre-season in, well, on both sides for us. So hopefully we can continue that here today. But first off, we're at Brands Hatch in the Group 3 cars for Round 2 of the Nations Cup. This is the second or third attempt I did at this race. I think it's the second attempt. First one really was a learning process because I wasn't really sure what car to use. As you can see, I am in the Renault. Now, it was a very quick car on the qualifying leaderboards, but from previous experience, it isn't really a good race car. It's a real handful to drive, so I wasn't really sure whether I should drive this or maybe try and jump in something else, but I thought, considering this is what I've done every single practice lap in, I'll just jump in this and, you know, see how it handles, see what I can drag out of it, and see if we can maybe, you know, just have a good race, score some solid points, and if it was too undrivable, then I'd come back later and try and drive something else. But obviously, since I'm here talking about it now, and obviously since you're here watching, it didn't go too bad. So yeah. But anyway, now one thing I do want to say as well, once again, and I know I've probably said it, it's probably like 20,000 times by now, but cheers for all the support on the channel. I've had feedback which is good and bad and everything else, but to me, you know, some of the bad feedback, well, you know, people are entitled to say what they want, and I get it, because I do too. But anyway, I'm not going to worry about that. It's not what we're here for. But as you can see, P4 for qualifying went pretty well. Not too many mistakes on the lap. We do get demoted down to P5 right at the last minute. But considering that we are up against some pretty quick guys, particularly what was formerly known as, I think, Tower Hollow, otherwise now known as Metal Gear, up there in P2, one of the quickest guys I've ever raced against. Just manhandles whatever he's driving. I don't know how he does it, but anyway, but hopefully we can try and maybe finish in the top 5 where we are, but we'll head over to the race and see what we can do and hopefully score a solid chunk of points, but let's go find out. Alright, so here we are on the grid for round 2 of the Nations Cup, starting P5 in the Renault. Not going to lie, at the point in time of doing this, I was quite nervous because I didn't think this car would be a very good race car, especially considering that the Audi R8 seemed to be quite a popular choice, to be honest. I noticed from watching a few other people's POVs and screenshots that I got sent from a couple of mates and whatnot, that the R8 was a very popular race car for this event. But anyway, we'll see what we can do in the Renault. But away we go, starting P5, 16 lap race. Not too sure how fuel is going to play into this race as well. I do think that we're going to have to save a little bit, starting on the hard tyres as well. Now, one thing that is crucial to remember and is definitely a bit different, you have to use all 3 tyre compounds in this race. Oh god, getting a bit tail happy, and well, that was probably a bit, yeah, sorry to the guy behind me there. I just kind of cut him off a little bit, probably a bit dodgy on my part, but yeah, sorry for that. But R8 runs off the road ahead of us. Could have easily got back on there, I feel, but I don't know, maybe decided to keep his boot into it and didn't quite work. But anyway, that's a free position for us, up to P4, and yeah, so far so good. We've got onto the end of lap 1 now, still in P4 as we get a hit up the arse into the final corner. And not going to lie, at the point in time when I was doing this, I was quite annoyed at that. But that might have just been a return of serve. I mean, I did kind of cut him off just around here further on the opening lap. So, you know what, eye for an eye, as they say. But anyway, we haven't lost too much ground. We're still down in P7. So, we're still definitely within a shout of a top 5 finish here. So, we're going to try and make the most of that. Now, as I was saying a minute ago, I've started on the hard tyres. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I did actually do a bit of practice, a few practice races a few hours before this with some of the people that are actually in this race as we speak. Hold that thought, here comes Josh up the inside into this right-hander. Looks like he's going to get the move done, probably on a softer compound of tyre, as I'd say everybody is around us at the moment, just judging by the pace difference. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, that's right. So, on the hard tyres at the moment. Now, the reason that I've decided to do this was, as I was saying, I did a couple of practice races with some guys that are in this race at the moment. Now, I realised that I could take the softs and mediums combined. I could do about 14 laps on them, which means all I had to do was about 2 or 3 laps on the hards. So what I was thinking at this point was, if I could start on hards, get them out of the way, that way I could just run the softer compounded tyres to the end. So that's what we're going to do here at the end of lap 3. We're going to come in, get these hard tyres off, little touch on the wall there, so that's not quite what you want to be doing, but anyway. So into the pits, hard tyres go off, mediums come on, put a bit of fuel in, fuel up. That's not quite going to get us to the end. We're probably about 3 laps shy, so we might have to fuel save a little bit and put a splash of fuel in at the next stop, which is probably going to be maybe lap 10, lap 11, not quite sure yet. The plan is to go 7 or 8 laps on this set of medium tyres, but re-emerging down in P14, so while it doesn't look great for us right now, this is all planned. I had this plan in my head. I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't think I'd be challenging for a win, so I didn't really try and put myself in a headspace where, you know, I was racing the likes of Metal Gear and so forth. But as you can see, Rosmo, big slide in the R8 ahead of us there, runs off the road. Not going to lie, at that point, I was actually a bit nervous that I was going to get a penalty for that, because just the way of how screwed up this penalty system is. I wasn't sure if I touched him there. I don't think I did, but we didn't get penalised for it anyway, so all good. But anyway, coming on a bit later, go up the inside of the Volkswagen, up into P12 now, and now we've got a solid chunk of clear track ahead of us, which we're going to try and use about 10 laps of fuel. So we're actually pretty close to being able to make it to the end now, probably half a lap shy. But yeah, it's going pretty well for us at the moment. As you can see, a few laps later, a few more people have made their pit stops, up into P9. We've got Josh there behind us as well. I think he's actually pitted and gone on to hard tyres as well, because his pace after he came out was absolutely atrocious. So I'm not too sure what he did. I presume he went on to hards just by how slow he was. But anyway, coming on a little bit later, we've caught up to the battle for P5. You've got Iron Mask and a Subaru Citroen there that just, well, just disappeared into a sand pit, so that's a bit unfortunate. But here we go, we're going to try and make the move on Iron Mask. Dart to the inside at the last minute. Tiny bit of contact made, I think, between the pair of us. He gives us a bump there. I was hoping he'd do that, to be honest. I was. That's the one thing that does kind of annoy me with these races, when you come across someone who, you know, is on a different strategy, in this case Iron Mask, who you're not really racing in the grand scheme of things, and you pass them and then they'll try and fight back and try and pass you back. That's the most annoying thing about some of these races. But luckily in this race that wasn't really a problem, or at least for me it wasn't anyway. But into the pits now for a final pit stop onto the soft tyres. Splash of fuel in as well to make sure that we don't have to worry about fuel saving. And here we go, re-emerging on the track in P8. We've got 2 guys just up ahead of us, so we should be able to easily bag P6. I'm not too sure about getting back into the top 5, but wait and see. The race isn't over yet. Getting on to the end of lap 12, we've caught up to these two battling for P6. Now this gets a little bit awkward here because, well, as you can see, one of them wanted to go into the pits and the other was wanting to make the move, and I'm wanting to get by both of them. Porsche actually ends up with a 1 second time penalty there, so I'm not really too sure what that's for. But anyway, we get up into P6, so we've benefited from that. Now, next up is this wood in P5. Now, I think, and you're going to have to quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I think he still has to come in for his final stop. And as you can see, coming on to the end of this lap, indeed he is into the pits, and he's actually gone onto a set of hard tyres. So he's run the softer compounds of tyres at the start and mid-point of the race, and now he's going to do 2 or 3 laps on hards at the end. To me, that is just... I didn't see that as the right strategy, to be honest, but for the front runners, it obviously worked because, from what I can gather, everybody in front of me is currently on hard tyres, and the pace that they had on the softer compound at the start and mid-point of the race was just absolutely unbelievable, and we just had nothing to fight with. We were just a sit and duck at the start on the hard tyres, and I got off them as quickly as I could. I probably could have pitted on lap 2, but I wanted to try and make sure that I had some kind of life in these softs at the end, and we've managed to do that fairly well. Running a bit low on fuel, but that's alright. We should make it across the line with about 0.2 or 0.3 laps of fuel remaining, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. But all in all, I'd say this has been a pretty successful second round of the Nations Cup. As I said, I didn't expect to be challenging for victory, especially considering if you look at who the top 4 are. But there's some pretty speedy guys behind us as well, so I'll definitely take P5, finish exactly where we qualified, and top 5, I'll definitely take it. And well, I tried to do a 360 across the line there, definitely didn't do that very well. But that was really the only mistake of that entire race, and as you can see, about 15 seconds off the lead of the race. Now, we were actually about 21 seconds off the lead, believe it or not, when we come out of the pits after our final pit stop. So we gained about 5-6 seconds on the leaders at the end, so we were very quick at the end, but as I said, we were just way too far back and couldn't do anything. But P5, another solid chunk of points for us, 209. Not great, I suppose, when you think about it. I feel like we can definitely earn more, but I just decided to take it. 209, it's still a solid chunk of points anyway, but we'll head over now to the second round of the FIA Manufacturer Series. Still in the Group 4 cars. I think we go into the Group 3 cars next round, which I think is at Interlagos, so that'll be interesting. I'm actually quite excited for that race, but anyway, can't get out of ourselves too much. We've still got this round to do in the Group 4 cars at Fuji Speedway. Now, this is a track which I've really not driven for a number of years, to be honest. I probably haven't driven here since when Gran Turismo 4 was a thing, back on the PS2. And we all know, you don't hear too many people talk about that lately, but it's been a long time since I've really driven this track in anger. I think this was my second attempt at this race, but it was the fourth actual attempt at this race you could do. So I tried the very first one, which was at 5 o'clock my time. Didn't go very well. Just struggled with tyre wear. So after that, decided to go out, had some tea, chilled out for a bit, and then come back for the one which was, I think it was 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. my time, and this is what you're seeing right now. So qualifying, starting a lap now behind an Alfa Romeo. Now I'm not too sure what he's doing here, because it looks like he's, if anything, going to try and make a race of this, and to me that seems like it seems a bit stupid, to be honest. So you'll see here as we come out of this first turn, I'm flashing the lights at him, just trying to get his attention, going, you know, don't bother trying to defend, I just want to follow you, you know. Like, I don't want to make a race of this. And luckily, he did flash the lights back, and I'd say he got the message because that was the only time that happened during the lap. In the mid part of the lap, we actually struggled to stay with him a little bit, to be honest, but we're getting a big tow up to the line. And again, he's actually trying to break the slipstream. I'm not too sure why he's doing that, to be honest. But we come across the line and we go P2, which is very, very good. Demoted down to P3 pretty quickly, though. So the glory of having a front row start is eradicated. But I'll take P3, fastest of the Mercedes in this race at the moment. As you can see, the guy we're following actually ended up back down in P9, so he won't be too happy with that, I'd imagine. But if you look at the gaps, though, from, say, me down to where he was, there was only 3/4 tenths. But anyway, there is your grid order for the second round of the Manufacturers' Cup here at Fuji Speedway. P3 should be a pretty solid race, so hopefully we can score another solid chunk of points, and yeah, hopefully that can just do us a world of good for the manufacturer side of things, I guess. But let's get into it and see how we go. Alright, so here we are, round 2 for the Manufacturer Series here at Fuji Speedway. Not gonna lie, confidence levels weren't very high when I come to do this second race. I was really worried about tyre wear. That just seems to be the real big thing that I'm still struggling with. It was a pretty big problem when I was playing on the controller, and it's still a big pain in the ass on the wheel at the moment. So still just trying to learn how to try and manage tyres a bit better. I'm getting used to it slowly, but still a long way from you know, being able to do what the top guys do. I still have no idea how they do what they do, to be honest. But anyway, solid start down into turn 1. One eye on the radar, trying to make sure we don't get dived from behind. So we have a Nissan leading, Alfa Romeo second, ourselves third, fellow Mercedes behind us in P4, and another one in P5 as well, I think. But anyway, first lap, fairly stock standard, nothing really happened. Getting up to lap 2, just still sitting in behind the top 2, really not wanting to try and make a move and slow everybody up, to be honest. Again, just flashing the lights at the top 2, just trying to get their attention to say, you know, if we don't battle, we could probably eke away a little bit here. And for a minute, I thought that they might have got my message, but as you can see, the Alfa Romeo closing right up on the GTR, and it looks like he's going to try to go for a move really outside. I don't think that's going to quite work, and no, it doesn't. Tries to look for a cutback, but nothing going on for him there either. Now, this is where the problems do arise a little bit, because while the Alfa does seem like a bit of a quicker car, it's just got no horsepower in a straight line. Like, look at this as we go to start lap 3, fastest lap of the race, by the way, nice touch. But the Alfa is in the slipstream of a GTR, and even with the slipstream of a car like the Nissan that is pretty quick in its own right, we can still out-drag it. But down the inside into turn 1, he hangs it around the outside though. That's definitely where the Alfa probably has the edge over us, just in terms of mid-corner speed. It's very nice through the turns, and he maintains P2 for the moment. I wanted to try and get by at this point, to be honest, because I felt like any minute there could be a dive from behind, and I didn't want to be the guy who was, quote, the sitting duck. So, yeah, I knew that there was the fellow Mercedes right in behind me as well. And as you can see, coming on the lap 4, there he is. So this is a bit interesting. Down into turn 1, Mercedes and Alfa Romeo on our left. The Merc is now going to dive to the right-hand side, shoves us a little bit wide there. And just like that, he has gone from 4th up to 2nd. Well, certainly didn't expect that. Side by side now with Blitz in the Alfa Romeo. Up the inside, we got a bit tail happy there. Under brakes, kind of slid into him a little bit there. So I apologise for that, but he maintains P3 and we go back into P4. So not really the start I would have been hoping for, but there goes Ronnie up the inside of Nismo in the GTR. But it looks like the Nissan's going to get the lead back on the cutback. Does he? No, they're still side by side. Ourselves and Blitz just sitting here waiting for an opportunity. We're going to try and make a move on the Alfa Romeo now as Ronnie tries to squeeze the GTR. We're going to look for a move. Oh, nothing going for us there. Slight tap in the right rear, but nothing happening for us there. Unfortunately, we get a hit from behind from, I think, I don't know whether that was Blitz in the Alfa Romeo or Road Rash here. I'm not too sure, but we go for a send up the inside of the Nissan there. Now, the main reason I did that, and, well, to be blunt, is I felt like Ronnie actually had the pace to break away from this pack. So, at this point, what I was actually thinking was, okay, if he has got the pace to break away, then if I can stay with him, I'm not going to try and fight him. And as you can see, coming on to the next lap, we have been able to stay with him. And as you can see, just once again, a flash of the lights, just to try and say, hey mate, don't worry about a dive, because I'm not going to try and attack you. Let's try and break away. And he did acknowledge that with a flash of the headlights back at me, so he understood what I wanted to do. And as you can see, cutting on to the end of lap 7 now, it's pit stop time for the both of us. So in we go. Takes a very interesting line into the pits there, but as you can see, he's actually on mediums. So this is where I kind of realised I was screwed in terms of aiming for a race win. So out we go on our medium tyres. Didn't have to put any fuel in, as we are all good to make it to the end. But Ronnie maintains provisional P1, but he's on soft compound tyres now, whereas we're on mediums. So this is where things kind of got a bit awkward, because obviously being on soft compound tyres, he just had so much more grip than what we did. I tried to stay with him to you know, try and mount an attack maybe at the end of the race, but unfortunately there's just nothing we could do. On to the next lap. Ronnie, fastest lap of the race, a 1:40.3, and we do a 41.3, so we're a second a lap slower than him at the moment. So yeah, there wasn't much we could do. I still tried to keep after it. I tried to reel him in, but I think, to be honest, he did just kind of conserve his soft tyres really well. I don't think he was pushing extremely hard, or as hard as what he could have, but there's nothing we could do in the end, unfortunately. I tried to just wring the neck out of this Mercedes. I took everything out of these tyres that I physically could, but it wasn't enough. Ronnie just streaked away into the distance on those soft tyres. So he goes across the line. He wins round 2 here at Fuji Speedway in the Route 4 cars, so congrats to him. But as we come across the line, it's going to be P2 for us, Merc 1-2, so I'm definitely happy with that. I don't know whether we could have won that race, to be honest. If we had started on the mediums like him, I felt like we might have got mugged a bit at the start. So, I don't know, I think second, realistically, was probably the best we could have hoped for. But still, second in the Manufacturer Series and 5th in the Nations Cup. So, all in all, I'd say this has been a pretty successful second round. But yeah, I feel like could have been maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. I have high expectations, maybe a bit too high. But anyway, 256 points earned for Mercedes, so very nice haul of points, and Ronnie would earn even more than that, obviously winning the race. So let's just have a look at the point side of things. First off, the Nations Cup, having a look at my regional ranking, currently located in P8, which is pretty impressive, not going to lie. I'm actually happy with that. So have a look at the manufacturer side of things now. First in Tassie, doesn't come as a surprise. Third for Mercedes-Benz, and 11th in a regional ranking of Oceania. So pretty happy with that, not going to lie. 508 points on the board, pretty solid. Leading the global manufacturer ranking as well, so that's always nice. But that's it from me today, guys. If you guys enjoyed, remember to leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for plenty more. And until the next video, I'll see you all next time. Have a good one.